Yeah, for me, Loom was a community discovery. I've been in Farcaster for a little while, and at some point it was lonely a little bit out there. I thought the atmosphere in the Loom community, being able to support each other and to have this kind of feedback and exchanges and conversations and co-working even in Workcast became a much more interesting experience than before with Farcaster. I'm a French artist and writer. I studied literature and cinema, filmmaking. And after that, I was multidisciplinary. So I made photography and theater. I wrote a novel. I teach meditation also and Tai Chi. And I've been looking for a long time how to converge these interests. And so I entered the space in 2021, the NFT space and the crypto space. And I lived the crazy NFT era at this moment. I learned a lot. I read like white papers of DeFi, of everything. Somehow I wanted to learn all the concepts. And little by little, I built this sci-fi project of the Solares, which is a kind of network nation or network society, but imaginary because I'm an author and an artist. So I prefer to develop an idea in my imagination and to inspire others somehow. And also it was a kind of continuity with Star Wars, which I felt was a bit of betrayal at some point. With the rise of AI, it became possible to develop imaginary worlds like this. So yeah, I was thinking, let's do our own Star Wars where we can really dive deeper in a society based on meditation, for example, and to see most of the sci-fi things. They don't imagine psychological evolution. This is an important part for me, I think. And about the LIT, so the Luminous Institute of Technology, at some point with friends here in the southwest of France, we had this idea. We created the PIT, which was the Prešák Institute of Technology, and Prešák was actually a very small village, like maybe 30 inhabitants or something like that. And we just had fire chats sometimes with friends about technologies. One of them was an inventor, another an astrophysician. And it was, networking and chatting about technology and culture. So this was the reference initially for me. And somehow it still is. This simple idea of having a place to talk to each other, to have a space for research where we can dive deeper in ideas and science and philosophy and culture is already a lot, I think. And then much more things can happen. So there are a lot of interesting projects that the LEAD members are doing already. Louis is doing a very interesting storytelling project. Asha is having her blog also. And of course, there is the Loom protocol that is developing and the art. Lit is a bit like the DAO of Loom, I think, somehow, that includes all these projects, these ideas. And from there, yes, we can see how it develops in the future, but it can be organic, I think, somehow. But I think everybody has its own ideas, and the launchpad aspect is interesting. This is what is happening already. Somehow we exchange, projects are launched, and it can be open to other people, even newcomers in blockchain, or to people who need this visibility, this support from an open-minded community. And even Lumi, which is a project I'm working on, can be connected to it at some point, maybe. So Lumi was inspired originally by Boto. When you made this art contest, it was really obvious for me that we were actually going in this direction because we were thinking a lot about collective intelligence. The Boto idea was one I proposed at the very beginning of Loom. Yeah, the idea was to build something a bit like this, but more involved and weaved with Farcaster, with the social network itself. Right now, it's more a cyborg than an agent. So I've been interesting because I don't have the programming skills to do really an interesting agent by myself. But I think the idea of a cyborg is also close to the AI at the same time.
Mhm.
And so I've created the account of Lumi on Warpcast. And we have also a channel. And the idea is to produce artworks that the community can vote on. The community at some point will be able to use the AI models to produce artworks, and we can all vote on which one we prefer, and then we can mint it, and revenue of the mint is redistributed between all the participants, the curators, the creators, the artists that participated in creating the model. So yeah, it's an experiment in this direction. The next step will be that Lumi begins to cast and show images and to enable the community to participate in the channel. I will be curating the writings at the beginning that will be made with AI, and the channel is already open to the community. And from there, we will see how it evolves, if the community is interested. I kind of like this idea of embodying an entity. I call it a cybernetic entity with humans and AI at the same time. So there is this whole reflection also about what is AI art, what is our relationship with AI. AI is, for me, the most important art medium right now. We can see it with all the debate, for example, that is around, which is a little bit like in the beginning of photography. When you look at art history, every time there was something new, a new medium, new ideas,
Mhm.
there was also always a debate, people that were shocked, people that loved it. It's such a powerful tool that will transform lives. It's really a fascinating time to create artistic experiments around the proposal. So the specificity of it in Loom is that it's community based. For now, it's more a cyborg, which is a mix of human and AI.
Yeah, that's very cool. I feel like there could be an evolution of Lumi that is really interesting that took Bado as the starting point, but then when you combine it with the social graphs where there's artists who are more heavily involved, I think that makes for a really interesting combination and could be really dynamic.
Yeah, I would like to make it easier to vote through the social network itself.
Mhm.
Easier to participate, more fluid. And yeah, to be able to explore in the writings the capacities of thinking of AI and around all these themes that are so modern and so crucial for our times. I'm quite interested, but I have to say it's also complicated to set up, and it's quite challenging to imagine a system, a protocol, which is not fully automatized right now. It's really different than producing visual artworks. But the theme is fascinating, I think.
I'm also really drawn to this collaborative storytelling and letting people build out their own worlds or vision for something they want to create. So Luis is working on an RPG game that he wants to involve the community in building out the world and the game mechanics behind it. If you were to sort of try to encourage more people building in the project on Farcaster, what would that look like, or how could that happen, do you think?
I really liked my characters actually for the arrowheads. So I think it's interesting to have connections between projects like that. I think it's very blockchain. For me, I found it difficult at the beginning. I tried it a little bit. I was thinking about loot and all these projects like this.
Mm,
And I found it a bit difficult to have a community engaged. On the Solar, for now, I am more on author work. But every collector is an artist who participates, is also part, a citizen somehow of this network society. So little
mhm,
by little, it develops. And somehow Lumi is a way for me also to experiment with this community blockchain-based engagement, even more than the idea in a more concrete aspect. The community is already building and already acting. And from there, it's more like gardening, I would say. For me, I like this idea of gardens for many reasons. And even Ethereum is the infinite garden for some,
yeah,
which I found so beautiful. Gardening this desire, this involvement, this capacity, but I would say also creating ways for professionals to be involved in it, because it's very different, I think, to build a decentralized storytelling project that appeals to a very wide community. In this case, it's more like fan fiction. And for me, as a writer, as an author, I know that the involvement to really create a world that is make it difficult to do it without author's rights or intellectual property. And so there is this question, how do you really have a high quality involvement of people creating in this concept? This is the main difficulty, I think. And
mhm,
for this, maybe a good direction is to have this flexibility that people can plug their own universe in it, like you are already doing a little bit. And so they can be professional of their universe. And at the same time, there is this common ground, this common area. So we combine individual projects with the community for fan fiction and for people who are more amateur, I would say, who are not professionals of it, which is very cool if it works. But regarding the quality and the engagement of anybody, the most important, I think, is to find this balance between individual project and a common ground. I don't know what you think about it.
yeah, I think in the DAO space in the last cycle, the way that most people would do it is like core team and community. There was opportunity for like a different sort of role, like some people who are the professionals, and then someone who's like a part-time contributor, and then the super fan, and each person could know when and where to show up to do what they like to do as a part of the DAO. And I feel like there's a similar need for collective intelligence projects, that you need this definition of how people can be involved that's clear for people.
The question is, if you think about a movie, it's a collective project
Yeah.
also, which is a hierarchy. It's really difficult to make a movie without a kind of structure. And of course, in DAOs, in some parts of the blockchain, we love a lot the idea of decentralization and also a bit this anarchist influence. Everybody must remain free of his movements somehow. So if you want to build something which is centralized, you lead a little bit the thing, and it's okay inside. We navigate between decentralization, more centralization, because radical decentralization can somehow inhibit the movement. For example, the idea of having a very structured template for different roles is somehow centralized. You create the rules, really also efficient, I think, in terms of clarity. And for a project, a DAO to work, it needs some rules for the game to be played. If there are no rules, there is no game somehow. It's more being open-minded to different systems that can be combined in the most intelligent way possible, and not to be a maxi of any.
One question that I've been very curious about, and partially like of course some people just do art and they'll enjoy it and it will be part of their creative expression and they're not trying to make money. But my hope is that more people can make a living doing the art they want to do through blockchain. And I think especially through the coordination of AI. So typically, if you're an artist, you can pursue the artist path where you make your art, you put it out there, and eventually, if you're successful, you become this big thing. Not everybody's going to be able to do that. Another part is once an artist makes it to a certain level of any kind of art, they have like a machine, a people around them who help them to succeed. You have your agent or people who like do all the business aspect of things who coordinate this for you, depending on the type of art. And then on the other hand, if you can try to do something that's art adjacent to make a living, you can be a graphic designer, you can do like marketing, things that are art adjacent, but are not the art you want to do. In the Web3 space, you join a community and you make images that are a part of the community. You know, we did a contest for Luminous and people are doing art that is hopefully more along the lines of the art they want to do, but it's for the Luminous community. So
Yeah,
I think my hope is that in some ways, through like a community, through a collective, there can be avenues for more people to do the art they want to do because you can create structures for other people to help them, right? So not just I'll buy your art, but also promote you. I could sort of share in the benefit of your art through my work, right? I could give you high quality feedback. Artists could help each other improve. I feel like throughout past histories of art, there's been these kind of communities that cultivate scenes or art movements, right?
there are a lot of things there, and it makes me bullish about. There is a specificity in the community that is really art orientated because of the art contest at the beginning. In this sense, it's really unique, this combination of AI and art with a community in the space, I think. And I
Mhm.
do think related with Lumi that we need to build projects that are collective, like we are talking about films. Because right now, most of the artists are really isolated and each one is doing his own project, which is very cool. But bigger projects are made of more people somehow. So this is a fascinating direction that we've been circling around since the beginning of this conversation, and a very important topic for the future of blockchain art, I think. And there is this question, indeed, of the scene, of the movement, obviously connected to AI in the case of Loom. To deepen the reflection about this would be quite interesting. Then there is this thing also, which is a bit the reverse idea, that how do we decentralize the revenue of art?
Mm.
Because even in blockchain, it's quite centralized. There is a new elite somehow. We need to dive deeper in this, I think, also.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Like, how do we not create the new elite where there's still power laws applying?
The one of the aspects would be also to develop more local art. For me, I want to talk also to my friend artist, about my personal approach about this. Is that
Mm.
for me right now, blockchain is an experimental space, and also the kind of Dialogue that is possible here from anywhere in the world is really fascinating with artists from all around the world. And so it's also stimulating to improve ourselves. But it's very important for each of us, whatever the project, and even for Lumi, to have also connections with the world, the physical world around us. So to create
Mhm.
events like exhibitions that also create a balance with in real life, but also give additional revenue streams that can be complementary with blockchain revenue that is not always so easy in the NFT space, of course, right now. So you need to create flywheels as an artist, like a startup, where
Yeah.
everything is a participate and create a good connection. You make an exhibition, you have physical sales, and it helps also your NFT sales to gain interest. How do we involve local communities around the blockchain projects?
Yeah, that's well, making me think of Luis's project around the arrowheads, how he wants to create a physical zine and be involved in the zine community and the tabletop RPG community. And he's very involved in his local RPG community in Peru, that he's wanting to make physical sales of the characters and stories with a magazine, with a physical book that he creates within a community and workcast. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. I have all these projects. I plan to work on the Solaires for the basically the rest of my life, following the example of the much more famous George Lucas. So, of course, books, movies, maybe, and exhibitions and toys are things I'm planning to do also, and events right now. But this is why I kept the web address in French
Mhm.
also, and why it's at the same time international and at the same time with a bit more local possibilities, like in France, but also in the meditative community, for example. I would like really to make the sci-fi universe that developed this concept of how do we have an enlightened society.
Yeah, very cool. Is there anything else you want to mention? How people could get involved in Solaris, or yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
so right now it's quite simple and cheap. Like you can collect some NFTs on Rodeo, for example, that I publish. And it's building little by little. And of course, it's interesting for people to have a look at Lumi and what will be happening there in the coming days and weeks.